So my kids do gymnastics, and the other day my mother-in-law took the kids and, they go to gymnastics and she's sending me videos, sending me the play-by-play, which I love because I love doing that stuff with my kids and I couldn't go. And so she sends me a video of my son who's 4-ish and a half, and he's doing jumping jacks backwards on the trampoline. So like moving down the long trampoline, doing jumping jacks backward. She's like, he's the only one who can do these. And I was like, that's because we practice. And I give him whipped cream every time he does it. If you know, you know, right? No, but it's just, there's activities that are just imperative to work on the brain and build that connection. Yeah. So here's your real life example. Yeah. Why we love these so much. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. And this is All Things Sensory by Harkla.
We are both certified occupational therapy assistants, and together with Harkla, we are on a mission to empower parents, therapists, and educators to help raise confident and strong children of all abilities.
On this podcast, we chat about all things sensory, diving into special needs, occupational therapy, parenting, self-care, overall health and wellness, and so much more.
We are here to provide raw, honest, and fun strategies, ideas, and information for parents, therapists, and educators, as well as other professionals to implement into daily life.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey there, welcome back to All Things Sensory by Harkla. We're so happy to have you here today. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica.
And we are your certified primitive reflex clinical specialist. We're your occupational therapy assistants. We are moms, we're fun, and we are here to talk about some really great stuff today.
Yes. We're going to talk about the Harkla Sensory Dice, which are our newest product.
Yeah. They've been over a year in the making, so we are excited to finally be able to talk about them, share them with you, and just talk about all of the benefits that you're going to get when you use these and why we created them, honestly.
Yeah, so hopefully you're watching us on video so you can actually see them because we do have them here. Just really quick intro to them. There's 3 different colors. The orange, those are activities that are more alerting, can wake your body and your brain up. The blue ones are more calming, grounding activities. And then the green ones are more focused-based activities. So you can use them together and create a sequence of activities. You can use them separately for whatever your child you're working with needs. They're great for the classroom, for brain breaks. We do have other content, YouTube video, where we kind of dive more into how to use them and different ways to use them. Or if you go to our website, you can look at that and get some ideas for how to use them. But today we're going to talk about how to use them to target primitive reflex integration. Now, none of the activities on the dice are specific integration exercises like what we teach in our primitive reflex course, but we did go through and identified several activities on each die that do actually target a primitive reflex. And when we were making the dice, I don't even think that was in our brains.
I don't think so either.
Not for these ones.
Yeah. Exactly. I just have to take a pause and just say that the color scheme of your sweater with the dice is so perfect right now.
It matches.
We didn't even do that on purpose.
You gave me these 2 to hold.
Subconsciously I knew, but as you were talking, I was like, "Oh my word,
that's hilarious."
On
Yours
brand.
Doesn't match at all.
No,
I'm sorry.
If I had my yellow vest on or my green vest on, then I would be matching. But here we are.
It's fine. It's fine.
All right. So primitive reflex activities. Really, the goal is to get the brain into a higher level cognitive state, right? So when our reflexes are retained, we're holding on to them. It's keeping that brain in that lower level way of processing and cognitive skills. So if we can kind of work through and work against some of those primitive reflexes and integrate them, we will have more success at school, more success in our daily activities, just more success socially as well. And so let's talk about which activities can target which primitive reflexes and kind of how you should do it.
Yeah. So we'll start with the orange ones. Orange one.
Orange one.
Yeah. On the orange die, we have yoga flow movements. And this isn't like specific yoga movements, but any type of yoga flow. And really, when you're doing yoga, you're targeting most retained primitive reflexes.
Yeah.
The Moro, the TLR, ATNR, STNR, spinal galant. even the Palmar when you're weight bearing on your hands.
We do have a full yoga flow for primitive reflex integration inside of our primitive reflex course. We have a sneak peek on our YouTube channel as well, so you can check that out. But really, like Jessica said, any yoga flow movements, yoga activities are going to be so beneficial for reflex integration. A little bit of everything, head position changes, and then you can kind of add some different movements as well, like doing the cat cows, or, you know, just the table pose. When you're on your hands and your knees, you can turn your head side to side and really work on that ATNR. I love the Palmar idea of just weight bearing on open hands, making sure that hands are facing forward, they're not clawed underneath or bent, we're not hyperextending our elbows. I will share a quick story. We have a person on our team is pregnant and like due any minute now. And we were doing some crawling activities with her. Now, she was saying how difficult it was for her to crawl and get in that weight bearing position without compensating, and her elbows were kind of hyperextending even though her hands were pointing forward. And she's like, it is so hard for me to crawl in this position and to weight bear, and you know, we joke back and forth that she has a low muscle tone, but she actually doesn't. She's just a little hypermobile.
She's very hypermobile.
She's a twin. Like, there's all these things that go into it, and so it's kind of the ongoing joke. But it's just really important to be aware of your position and your form when you're doing some of these movements, because if your hands are completely turned around like this while you're weight bearing and doing cat cows, it's really not going to be functional and beneficial. So
yeah, it's not as beneficial.
Food for thought.
Yeah. On that note, the next one on the orange die that targets primitive reflex is rubbing hands together very fast. And this targets the Palmar Grasp reflex, because the Palmar Grasp reflex is stimulated by input, pressure, touch to the palm of the hand. So when you're rubbing your hands together really fast, you're really targeting that Palmar Grasp reflex. So if you have kids with retained Palmar Grasp reflex, do that activity.
There you go.
There you go. What's the last one on here was windmills. Windmills are really great. This is a great visual vestibular activity, and it targets the Moro and the TLR.
Love that one.
There you go.
Okay, should we do the blue die?
Here, I'll let you do it.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Okay, we've got holding a yoga pose. So again, this goes hand in hand with our yoga flow movements, but when we are balancing, when we are getting our head, you know, looking up and looking down, again, that works on that TLR, can work on that Moro reflex as well. Even the STNR, when we're holding a tabletop position, cat-cow position, there's a huge variety that we can do with the yoga poses. The next one is, this is my favorite graphic. Zoom in on this bad boy. Pushing the tongue to the roof of the mouth. This forms a really good seal. It holds, this is the position that we want our tongue to be in at rest when we're sleeping. This can be really great for the suck reflex, the rooting reflex, and just strengthening the tongue as well. It can be very grounding and organizing to the nervous system, stimulating the vagus nerve. So this is an important one that we want to practice. And if you're noticing that the child is really struggling to like motor plan, getting the tongue up to the roof of the mouth, suctioning it, if you're struggling with it, it's something to look into. Tongue ties are a thing that we could be looking for as well. You can see here there's no tongue tie on this lovely graphic that we have.
There's no tongue tie in the picture.
Optimal form here. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And then the last one is, where is it? Not the last one, just the last one we're going to talk about today. Pushing the hands together, pulling the hands apart. Again, we're just grabbing and pulling, pushing our hands together, provides a lot of proprioceptive input, can be helpful for that Palmar Grasp reflex as well. A lot of weight bearing, a lot of stimulation to the hands. So yeah, I just love these. I just love all of these. I mean, really, there's a lot that's happening with these right now, but we're going to focus on those ones.
Toss it. Thank you. I can catch.
I know you can. You're an athlete.
Okay. Every single activity on the green die, which is the focus die, the activities that are really great to help kind of refocus the brain and the body. Every single one targets a reflex. And that was not on purpose.
Not intended, but
total accident.
They're just honestly just some of our favorite activities.
Also kind of not surprising when you think about who made them.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one, wall push-ups. Really great to target the STNR. You could also add in some head turns during wall push-ups to target the ATNR as well. The next one, moving air back and forth between the cheeks. This is really great for the rooting and suck reflex as well. We're getting a lot of oral motor work, really coordinating the tongue, the lips, the cheeks, the teeth, the jaw, the whole oral structure to do that activity.
It's a really hard one to motor plan as well. So if you set up a mirror for your child to watch themselves and they can see, that can be really helpful. But having my kids do this one too is really difficult. They're like, I'm like, well,
yeah, use a mirror for sure.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Thank you.
Another one we call them hookups. If you're familiar with, is it Brain Gym?
Brain Gym.
They do hookups as well.
Thrive.
So this is a really great one. It really targets the Moro reflex when we're crossing our body and kind of going into that cross-flexed position. You could incorporate some deep breathing with this, some head flexion and extension with the crossing of the arms and the legs to even target the Moro reflex more. Here, you do the next three.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Okay. Where did we leave off? Okay. Sequential finger touching. This is our classic exercise for the Palmar Grasp reflex. This is a great one even for the Babkin reflex too, really working on finger isolation, touching each finger at a time, really working on building that like good arch in the hand as well. We don't want like flat fingers. We want to have a nice thenar eminence. If you remember from school, you'll remember what that is, but that's just this big muscle right here. And so we want nice prominent like arches in our hands, and that's a great way to build those arches and work on the Palmar Grasp reflex as well. And then we have animal walks. Here they are. Bear crawls, great for the STNR. We've got crawling, great for the STNR, the ATNR. Animal walks,
Animal walks, yeah.
And then we've got crab walking, again, which is going to be so helpful for building those arches, strengthening the core, and just like motor planning in general. And a lot of the exercises require a lot of motor planning, and they're going to be challenging at first. And we want you to continue to practice and just notice and observe what your child or what your client, what they're doing. Notice any overflow, like if they're working on sequential finger touching and their tongue is like following what their hands are doing, or if they are doing a crab walk and their hands are pointing behind them instead of in front of them, or they're doing a bear crawl and their arms are, externally rotated, or they're like up on their hands like this. I see this a lot in adults too. Yeah. Those are just compensations that we want to be aware of, and we want to try to get them into those proper forms when they're doing these activities. Did we do cross crawls? Have we done cross crawls yet?
Nope.
Cross crawls are absolutely fantastic. Just crossing that midline of the brain, getting both sides of the brain to communicate to each other, an essential skill for reflex integration. Can I share a funny story?
Please do.
One more. I have so many funny stories. So my kids do gymnastics, and the other day my mother-in-law took the kids. And no, you haven't heard this one yet.
Oh, this is different.
This is a different story.
This is different from what you told me earlier?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And, they go to gymnastics, and she's sending me videos, sending me the play-by-play, which I love because I love doing that stuff with my kids, and I couldn't go. And so she sends me a video of my son who's 4-ish and a half, and he's doing jumping jacks backwards on the trampoline. So like moving down the long trampoline, doing jumping jacks backwards.
Backwards? What do you mean?
So it's like a long trampoline.
His body was going backwards.
He was going backwards
Gotcha.
while he was doing jumping jacks simultaneously.
Gotcha.
She's like, he's the only one who can do these. And I was like, that's because we practice. And I give him whipped cream every time he does it.
If you know.
If you know, you know, right? No, but it's just, there's activities that are just imperative to work on the brain and build that connection.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's your real life example.
Yeah.
Why we love these so much.
No, I just thought it was really cool when we were writing this outline and I was looking through the dice and I was like, we didn't even intend for the dice to target primitive reflexes because That's what our sensory sticks are for. They have the primitive reflex purple sticks, but the dice unintentionally will, or intentionally now that you know, will address primitive reflexes. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's something we're obsessed with.
Yeah.
So
super cool.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's true. So true. So if you want to get these sensory dice, the link is in the show notes. You can go to our website, harkla.co. And if you want to learn more about primitive reflexes, then check out our digital course.
If you are looking for more content, more ideas, more things to do, definitely make sure that you're following us on the gram. That's where we like to hang out. You can find us at All Things Sensory Podcast.
If you like the podcast, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you check us out. If you're not watching us on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you go check us out there because our podcast is on video. And share this episode with a friend.
And leave a 5-star review.
Leave us
that
a
is
5-star review.
Best way to help us.
No
help us
4
reach
stars.
More people.
No 3 stars.
You can leave a 1 star, but we prefer the 5 and the 1 stars because it's really polar opposite. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
no 1 star
definitely.
is allowed.
Okay, I think that's it.
We'll plan on seeing you next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to All Things Sensory by Harkla.
If you want more information on anything mentioned in the show, head over to harkla.co/podcast to get the show notes.
If you have any follow-up questions, the best place to ask those is in the comments on the show notes or message us on our Instagram account, which is at Harkla_family or at All Things Sensory Podcast. If you just search Harkla, you'll find us there.
Like we mentioned before, our podcast listeners get 10% off their first order at Harkla. Whether it's for one of our digital courses or one of our sensory swings, the discount code SENSORY will get you 10% off. That's SENSORY.
Head to harkla.co/sensory to use that discount code right now.
We're so excited to work together to help create confident kids all over the world. While we make every effort to share correct information, we're still learning.
We will double check all of our facts, but realize that medicine is a constantly changing science and art.
One doctor or therapist may have a different way of doing things from another.
We are simply presenting our views and opinions on how to address common sensory challenges, health-related difficulties, and what we have found to be beneficial that will be as evidence-based as possible.
By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or your child.
Consult your child's pediatrician or therapist for any medical issues that he or she may be having.
This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast.
Thanks so much for listening.